Well, good morning and welcome to Our Stories. Our guest today is Dan Foster. Dan is a native of Central Illinois, and as we talked, he's told me about some of his family background, and I think you'll find it quite interesting because his family came here from Northern Ireland, and he kind of grew out of that environment and is going to tell us about his life experience. So, Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your family coming here, when, where, and how they got here, how they supported themselves, sort of their immigrant story, okay?
My great-great-great-grandfather was a native of Ireland, and his wife was too. They came over in the 1700s. 1791 is when they arrived in America.
Mm-hmm.
He was 12, she was 5 years older than he was. They had 11 children, lived in Lovington, Illinois. He taught school in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Moultrie County, which I didn't know that he was a school teacher until I almost retired myself. Their youngest child, who had been my great-great-grandfather, was James Foster. He was born in 1818, so he was already here. He's a citizen of America.
Okay.
They had 9 children, a farmer in Lovington, Illinois. He was James Foster. James' third child, John Foster, my great-grandfather, and his wife had 18 children. Another child died at birth. He was also a farmer in Lovington, Illinois. John's 7th child, Nicholas Foster, was born in 1879 and is my grandfather. He and his wife raised 5 children, farmer in Lovington, Illinois also. A lot of Lovington people. Nicholas's 5th child, my grandfather, was James Willard Foster, who is my father.
So I would imagine there are a lot of Fosters around in the Lovington area still.
Yes, there are.
Yeah, okay. You stated that your father worked at the Rath packing plant in Decatur. What did he do there?
They called him J.W. He was the maintenance department of the whole plant. He fixed all the mechanical, electrical, refrigeration, anything in the plant that was needed fixing or installed or cleaned. Federal government had quite a few regulations about cleanliness of the plant.
Mm-hmm.
A neighbor of mine was a salesman for Rath Packing Company, and he said J.W. could flat out fix anything. I guess that was his farmer training shine through. One really interesting instance of what he did, he worked with an engineer to develop and build and make sure it operated a Wiener Skinner machine.
Mm-hmm.
It removed the casings of the hot dogs. Rath Packing Company were one of the first people to have the skinless wieners.
So you told me that then you were born here in Decatur?
Yes.
Okay. And started the school here. And school was something that you always kind of really took a liking to. Where did you go to school here?
Went to Roach Elementary School, then Johns Hill Junior High School. That's when they had 7th, 8th, and 9th grades. No freshmen in high school. Decatur High School and Eisenhower High School. My senior class was the class that they just broke up and split among the 3 high schools because 2 new high schools had been built, MacArthur High School and Eisenhower.
Were there any particular classes, subjects, or teachers that kind of really appealed to you the most that you remember that kind of stick out in your memory?
In the high school situation, when we were split up, MacArthur High School was completed, and they were able to start the 57-58 year because it was complete. Eisenhower and Decatur High School shared the Decatur High School building with separate faculty and teachers, but they didn't have the ninth graders with them. Second semester, we were able to get into Eisenhower, including the ninth graders, so we all moved there. I particularly enjoyed math and physics. It really led me to appreciate logical reasoning, indirect reasoning, and the fact that you could model life in mathematical terms. That's even more true today. Some of the math they have today, they didn't know what it was used for, and it has been instrumental in studying DNA. But I also enjoyed music, particularly band class. Mr. Cruzan and Mr. Jaby were my only music teachers, and I really enjoyed that.
So you graduated from high school and started attending the co-op program at Northwestern, right?
Yes.
And that was in what field?
Electrical engineering.
Okay.
The co-op program, the freshman year, you just went to classes. Starting your sophomore year, you would spend a quarter in class, and then the next quarter you would work in the field that you were studying. And then the quarters alternated until you got the academic requirements for graduation completed.
So what were some of the couple of the jobs that you worked at during your co-op times?
I was in the research development department of Warwick Electronics. They had a lot of government jobs. I never worked on government jobs, didn't have any clearance.
Yeah.
But they did consumer electronics for Sears. So they made televisions, they made radios, the communications electronics. And I helped develop some test equipment for different components that went into those particular pieces of electronics.
Well, in that kind of a program, you picked up a lot of skills and certainly learned a lot about the world of work, and gave you an understanding of, what your profession might be like. Normally, those kinds of things are a pretty positive experience, but in your case, being exposed to what your profession was going to be like didn't quite impact you that way, did it?
No.
No.
In conversations with the other engineers in the department, come to find out that there was one man that was instrumental in developing radar in the Second World War, and since that time he had upwards of 15 different jobs. The other engineers had similar experiences, maybe not to that extreme, however. The companies would pick their brain, and then the engineer would move on. They just went from job to job to job at that time. And I really didn't want to do that. And that was a major reason I got out of that field.
So what did you decide to do?
When I was looking at going to college, I knew I wanted to do one of two things. One to be an engineer or one to teach. I said, well, what would be the easiest to do if you had to switch? Going from teaching to engineering would be fairly difficult. Going from engineering to teaching would be a good background.
Yeah.
With the mathematical and science courses required. So that's what I did.
Yeah. But you grew up among teachers too, in your family.
In fact, my grandmother was a teacher. 3 of my first cousins were teachers, and I saw those people frequently. very close to them.
So you had a good idea of what teaching entailed, what the job was, what would be expected of you, what the work was like. So it, you know, I can see where you felt like that was made a pretty natural place for you to go in terms of thinking about moving to another occupation.
I also respected and admired a lot of my teachers. I never had a teacher I disliked.
Mm-hmm.
Had one I had a few difficulties with, but didn't dislike him.
Yeah.
Thought that my relatives that were a teacher had a meaningful and productive life, and I'd like the same thing.
Sure. So you transferred to Milliken?
Transferred to Milliken.
Okay.
My senior year, about a month before we were getting ready to graduate, one of my professors had serious health issues and was not able to complete the semester. The university asked two of us to be teaching assistants and complete the coursework. So we alternated days of presenting lessons and got through, and it was a very positive experience for me, and I realized that it validated my choice of careers. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, that's great. So you, from that point on, you went into teaching and then made several moves in terms of moving into the field of administration. I gather you found it to be a fulfilling life, from what you've said.
I think the biggest thing was the family feeling and supportive and empathetic feeling I had with my colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
And that we all had the same feelings toward the students, that we were supportive and empathetic and tried to do a good job for them. My happiest years were in the classroom with the direct, non-confrontational contact with the students.
Yeah.
That was the first 8 years when I taught math and physics at Eisenhower, and the last 12 years when I taught college math at Milliken.
Mm-hmm.
The in-between years, I was in administration. It was enjoyable too, except there was a lot of conflict,
Yeah.
and that wasn't usually, well, the conflict wasn't as enjoyable.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing about your life as a teacher. Certainly sounds like you made the right choice for you in terms of going into that field, and you found it very rewarding.
I did.
And I'm sure your students were benefited by having you in the classroom.
I hope so.
Yeah. So,